today we're going to talk about some darker stuff. We're going to talk about some addictions. To begin with, what have I been addicted to? So right now, I wouldn't say I have any major addictions, but I definitely have had some addictions. So I've been addicted to pornography. I've been addicted to sex. I've been addicted to sugar and weed and maybe a few other things. And right now, I'm growing and have grown the most ever in my entire life. And honestly, one of the biggest reasons is because I have no major addictions. I have little minor addictions, like we all do, but I'm talking about getting rid of those big boys, those big heavyweight addictions that really stifle you, that hold you back, that keep you playing safe. Let me tell you a little bit more about what it was like for me when I was addicted to some stuff. So I noticed that even if I was doing good, really, I was just coasting. Because the thing is, when you have an addiction, and you know this in your soul and it really hurts, when you have a bigger addiction, what I saw is that I would be deeply deluded and I would be in a fog. And my entire perception, all of my thinking was just cloudy. I knew, I had a 1%, 2% glimmer of intuition, voice of truth within me. I push it down though, for the most part, because I couldn't handle it. Because that level of truth would just, knock down this house of cards that felt like it was me. In other words, if I listened to my true self, my true intuition, man, I couldn't take it. It would crack me wide open and I would be very vulnerable. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be vulnerable. I wanted to be, honestly, comfortable, because that's what you're doing when you're addicted to something. You're just remaining comfortable. Now, deep down, you don't really want to be comfortable. It's just a way of kind of coping with many things. You can have all kinds of things that you're coping with. But here's the thing for me, at least. One of the reasons why having, these addictions can be so harmful and pernicious is that even if you don't really have any particular trauma or thing you are escaping from or thing that you're not willing to look at, you can just be swept away by, massive amounts of escapism, because you just get lost in this addiction. It just takes you off the path. And now, even if you feel like you're kind of on the path, honestly, like how I was for myself, I was deluding myself if I thought I was on the path. For example, one thing that would happen for me is I would relapse, and then maybe I would meditate, and I would say, I meditated though. Yeah, but, again, speaking from my personal experience, I was deeply in denial. This is the thing that happens when you have a big addiction, is you're just basically always in denial. And you're also quite defensive, so you wouldn't seek out someone of real truth, because you know that they would probably be able to help you. And what does help entail? Well, help means that you're going to change. You don't want to change. No, with a big addiction, you will avoid things. Oh my God, you will avoid all kinds of things. I used to just, avoid eye contact because that felt very truthful. I used to avoid deep conversations. I remember I had like this knot in my stomach about certain things, mental health wise. I was quite concerned about a few things. I couldn't tell anyone because I was just like, fuck. I could not vocalize that because that felt like fucking death. Because when you tell someone else, you ground it in something other than you, in something outside of you. And to the ego, that's quite threatening, because it means now that there's an element here that isn't in your control. Someone else knows. Again, this is the kind of way that you think when you're like kind of an addict, when you have these addictions. And on the deepest level, you're just going to resist because you don't want to change, because that's going to be fucking painful. That's going to be emotionally laborious. You're going to have to change so much. I read something recently in a book, which is if you change just one part of something or one part of a system, The whole thing has to change in order to work now. Another thing I would say is throughout all of this, you're just steeped in this deep, deep ignorance. And, admittedly, that ignorance is self-created. So you make it, you create it. And, you have to, because if you could see what you were doing to yourself and you could really see it, you wouldn't be able to continue. That's what happened to me. I just had intuitions that were too powerful. You could even say that a way out, or it's not really a way out, a way through, because that's the only way, is to become painfully aware of what you're doing to yourself, and to become painfully sensitive to what this feels like and how awful it feels, and it just doesn't feel right. And everything, it all boils down to this one thing. Can you face the truth? I didn't want to look at the truth for many years. I was very good at escaping it and avoiding it and not looking at it. What happens is you coast, or you're just not even doing anything. You're not even plateauing. You're harming yourself. There's many levels to this stuff, as you know. But for me personally, what I've done is I've just become really interested and committed in basically the opposite. So truth, integrity, honesty, self-discipline, all the stuff that we resist when we're addicted and when we're in the dark. And this shift, what it does for you is just insane. You'll wake up in the morning and you'll think, whoa. You would think that making that shift would be like hell, because you've got to do so much work to change yourself and transform. But what if on the other side of it was heaven? What if on the other side was freedom? What if you woke up in the morning every day and you're like, oh my God, I set myself free. Honestly, this is all you've ever wanted, because you've just wanted to be on the right side of things, on the right side of yourself, on the right side of self-discipline. Not on the side where you're constantly trying to just get back on the path and get your stuff down. It happens. But you want to be on the pure side where you're out of your own way. And again, key point here. Addictions come in all forms, shapes, and sizes. I'm talking about those big ones. I'm talking about the ones that, you identify with and say, yeah, I've got that. I struggle with that. That's the thing to go for. We could say your work is cut out for you because it's right there. And what you do is you turn it around. It was your biggest weakness and insecurity and thing that, crutch, right? The thing that you felt most ashamed about, but did a lot to, just cope. Now it's a source of strength. These days, for example, I openly tell people the stuff that I went through. Often in the first few conversations I have with someone, I often share some of the deepest stuff that I went through. And immediately they're like, wow, you went through that. You did that work. You turned it around. You transformed. You went through a process. And now when I think about PMO, sex, weed, and sugar, I don't feel shame. It's a reminder of how far I've come. It's a reminder of who I've had to be to leave that and to live a different life. Because that's what you're doing. When you remove your biggest major addictions, you live a different life. There's a phrase I use sometimes with my clients. I just say, choose differently. What? Yeah. If you become conscious, you can just choose differently. That's the power that you have. Truth is, the thing that does it, it's not even you. I watched a video a couple of days ago of a guy talking about overcoming alcohol, and he said something, he just kind of used this offhand phrase like, oh, higher power or something like that, universe, something like that. And if I was there with him, I mean, I wouldn't actually do this, but I wanted to say, yes, Yes, that. So again, if you are hearing this and you're feeling maybe a bit challenged by it or uncomfortable by the idea of it, the most reassuring thing in the entire world is that you are the one who does it, but you are your higher self as you do it. So the version of you that you are now, imagining it, it's not it. You're trying to imagine a change that will take place, but you're trying to imagine that the current version of you does it. Nah. When you actually do it, which you can do at any time, by the way, something else has to come through. Yes, you're going to face yourself. Yes, you're going to feel like you can't do it. But again, you have divine support. That's the thing that gets you over the finish line. It's actually not a finish line, is it? It's a process of transformation. And it's an endless path. But you're not even on that path until you confront yourself and you say, hey, I've got these addictions and they're stopping me from doing this and being this person. Start with honesty. Then speak to someone. Then create change. Then create commitment. Then live and live a good life and choose differently. You're choosing different things. It's nuts when you really think about it. You just wake up one day and you're like, oh, I've chosen differently. Wow. If you have heard something in this video that has inspired you and maybe stuck with you, and you want to actually do something about this, you want to actually change, you're like, no, man, I'm in. If you feel inspired and you'd like to work with me one-to-one, I do offer coaching and mentoring. If you're committed, you can see my website in the link in the description. Otherwise, my friend, keep enjoying the videos. Lots of love. Take care. And as always, peace.